Hi again, Mark here from Talking Bass. Today we're going to look at tone and the sound that you create from the bass. You'll all have heard that age-old saying that the tone is in your fingers. Well, that is true. Your sound very much is created with the fingers, and today we're going to look at how we can change all the fundamental areas of your tone with the hands way more than you can with tone controls. This lesson is taken from the upcoming Creative Bassist course over at Talking Bass. I sent out a poll to the Talking Bass community asking what would make the perfect course. The results were overwhelmingly in favour of a course on creative playing, how to jam, how to create fills, how to solo, improvise, and how to put all of the theory nuts and bolts into practice, especially with creation of bass lines. So the course is currently in development and should be released within the next month or so. This lesson is part of a brief foray into working on sound in your playing. So check out the lesson and look out for upcoming news on the impending release. Enjoy! So let's have a look at tone and touch. The sound that you create from the bass is massively important when developing a musical personality. We know many bass players simply by the tone that they create. Jamerson was known for that fat, muted, fingerstyle tone. Jaco Pastorius had that very articulate and distinctive bridge pickup sound. All players have a sound, and when it comes to playing in bands, one of the most important things that you can add to the ensemble is sound. Now, there are many things that we could say about tone controls and effects, but for this course, I'm just going to focus on the tonal influence that will be consistent through any amp, the sound that you create with your hands. The tone that you want to create is usually going to be based on your influences, the music that you listen to and the players that you admire. But many times you might not really have a goal. You know, it might just be a case of experimenting and trying to do the best that you can. But whether you have a sound in mind or not, there are several aspects of playing that we can look at that will help you create whatever tone you require out of the instrument. And when it comes to being a creative bassist, the tone and touch that you use can make a huge difference to the sound and feel of a groove. So to demonstrate, I'm going to play a simple bass riff played with both pickups set to maximum. If you have a regular precision bass or any one pickup instrument, then you don't have to worry about pickup settings. But if you have two pickups, just set them both up to full volume. This means that we're not hearing any bias from a bridge or neck pickup in that scenario. So for the riff, we're just going to play. Okay, so it's just a C, 3rd fret of the A string. Then down to the G, 3rd fret of the E string, and then back up to the C. Then G to bring us back round. Very easy. So first of all, let's just try that riff picking over the neck pickup at a light to medium attack. So that's going to sound like this. Now let's try playing over the bridge pickup. So we're moving closer to the bridge here and have a listen to how that sounds. So we've immediately tightened up the attack. We've got a little bit more mids in there. You know, we've lost a lot of the of that boom that we get further down here. It's just a lot tighter. So there's a lot of articulation, a lot of attack. Now back to the neck pickup. Now, if you're just watching this on a phone or a laptop, something like that, through small speakers, you might not notice as much difference. But if you listen through headphones or larger speakers, you're going to hear the bottom end kind of being masked a little bit by the tighter articulation as you move closer to the bridge there. But if you try it with your own instrument through a bass amp, just turn it up a little, just try playing over the neck pickup and then over the bridge pickup. Just listen to how it sounds. Okay, so just keep the same consistency of attack each time. Don't play any harder, you know, when you're playing closer to the bridge. Same, just keep that soft to medium touch. No real smacking it, anything like that, then just move down to the bridge. Then let's move even closer down towards the neck. So if we move here to the end of the neck, again, it's got more of that woody kind of sound. Bit more hollow sound there. And bridge. And now up to the neck. Next, I want you to experiment with different angles of attack with the fingers. So, if we move back to the bridge, at the moment you can see that my fingers are pointing down towards the bass. Okay, so they're pointing in at the bass. If I bring the thumb back so that the fingers are a little bit more flat, you'll hear that we get a little bit more clank. So if I do this over the neck pickup, bridge, and now back over the neck. So when we play over that neck pickup, you can really hear it smacking into the frets. So pointing at the bass, not as much clank, but then we pull back. And then if we move really close to the neck, again, a totally different tone. So we've got a lot more of the harmonics in there. And back to the bridge. Then if you increase the strength of attack, so if we're over the neck pickup, let's say, we're playing flat fingered and we really start to hit it, we get a lot of that snap in there. And then up here nearer the neck. So it starts to become even more percussive there. Not as much down at the bridge because it's a lot more taut there, so. But up here, and, which is what you might want for more of a rocky kind of feel. But, you know, if you're wanting more of a ballad, something like that, or just something a lot softer, you know, you can point further, you know, in at the bass and just play softer. Totally different sounds. So obviously this makes a massive difference to the sound and the feel of a groove. If you're wanting more of a funky, articulate sound, then you're going to want to point towards the bass and be closer to the bridge. But if you're wanting more of a softer kind of feel, a more warm, standard kind of bass tone, then you want to be over the neck pickup and you want to play it a little bit lighter. But then if you're wanting more of that snap, then you're going to play over the neck pickup and you're going to play hard. You don't get as much of that snap at the bridge, but in the middle, because we've got a little bit, it's a little bit looser. So if you're wanting that little snap, a little bit like a pop up on the top, you're going to want to play further down here, okay? So, you know, it makes a massive difference. The actual strength of attack, the angle of attack, and the position from the bridge to the neck. So obviously, if you also introduce the possibility of a pick and also slapping in there, it makes for a lot of different sounds. So really experiment with where the hand is when you're actually playing any bass line. And if you're playing through an amp, especially, it's going to make a big difference. If you're just playing acoustically, you won't notice as much difference. But when you're playing loud through an amp, especially if you're doing a gig or a rehearsal, try moving the hand and you will be amazed at the difference. You know, just the movement of an inch. You know, you could be playing something Down here, you bring it a little bit further towards the neck, and it can just, even if it doesn't sound good on its own, in a band setting with everything, guitars and drums and all that stuff, you would be amazed at how different the actual feel can be when you just move the hand a little bit. Now, obviously, as well as the position of the hand, we can also change the bias of the pickups. So on here, I've got a bias I can actually move from one side to the other and all the positions in between. So if you have a precision, you're pretty much stuck with it. You got the neck pickup. But if you've got two pickups, then you can try playing with the bridge pickup just to hear how that sounds. So if I was to play over the bridge pickup with the bridge pickup, you get that really mid-heavy articulate attack. That's that standard Jaco jazz bass kind of sound. Then if you were to switch to the neck pickup, that's more of that kind of precision sound. It's got more of that hollow kind of feel. Okay, so I'm still picking here at the bridge. But then if I move to the bridge pickup, we lose a lot of that, the bottom end, to be honest. You lose a lot of that, but you get more of that articulation. So if you're going to be playing there at the bridge, usually you would want to drop the treble a little bit, and you might want to increase the low mids or the bass. So, and back to the neck pickup. Then if we're playing over the neck pickup, that's a very warm sound. If we were to go to the bridge pickup, we still retain a little bit of that warmth. But, if you're in between, so on a jazz bass, that would be both pickups up full, then you get that type of sound. So this all depends on the type of bass that you have, the type of pickups that you have. A Music Man Stingray, again, we've got that big humbucker at the back. It's going to have a different sound again. So with all of these different tonal possibilities with the hands, you then want to factor in the pickup bias, whether you're actually playing bridge pickup, neck pickup, both. Factor that in, and you've got an absolute universe of possibilities. Now, as for the attack, the strength of the picking, you should aim to play lighter most of the time, as a default. The lighter you play, the less fret buzz that you'll get, the more dynamic you can be, the more control you'll have, and the more stamina and speed that you'll attain. That's not to say that you need to play light all the time. It's not one or the other. Sometimes you'll want to pick hard in order to accent a note, as we did there. Or it might provide a certain sound. But as a rule of thumb, play lighter and raise the volume of the amp to compensate. For most bass lines, picking hard can work against you. And this is something that I just learned over years of playing. It's what anybody that's been playing for any amount of time will tell you. When you play on stage and everything's loud, you've got the amp turned up, you will naturally play lighter anyway, just because it's so loud. You're not having to, push to actually hear yourself. If everything's loud and you can hear it, a lot of the time you are just going to play lighter anyway. And one other great thing about playing lighter is that you will increase your sustain. If you pick hard, you will have an immediate transient, and then it will drop down to the level that you have set the amp. Now, if you've got the amp set quite low because you're making up for the fact that you're playing hard, that, drop off is going to be quite severe. So it's going to go down to a very low level. But if you have the volume a little bit higher and then you pick lighter, you don't have that immediate transient on the actual sound. It's just a lot more consistent. And because you've set the sound to that level of that transient, it will hold for a lot longer. So if you're having problems with sustain, if you're playing, let's say, a slow song and you're just wanting to, have that bass note travel a lot longer, turn up the volume and play lighter.